welcome back to New York. It's been 2 years since you've been here. I'm curious how you feel you've grown and changed and how different it is to be here as opposed to when you were here last time as number one.
Yeah, obviously a lot's changed in my life since then. A lot has changed for everyone across the world since then. I know it was disappointing not to play here in New York last year under some pretty strange circumstances for everyone, but it's certainly nice to be back here now. It feels like it has been a long time since I've been back in New York, and it's nice to be back. This week's going to be exciting. We've got fans. That's going to bring a lot of energy to this tournament, and this is a tournament that thrives with the energy, and I can't wait to get started.
Okay, we'll move around the room right there.
Hi Ash, Russell Fuller from the BBC. To what extent are you making the most of your relative freedoms in Manhattan? You have flexibility to do a bit more than you have done at recent Grand Slams, but obviously that carries with it a certain amount of risk.
Yeah, look, for me, that doesn't really change a lot to what I do typically at a slam, whether we've been in a bubble or not. I'm not really one to get out and about too much. Obviously, we spend our time here at the courts doing what we need to do, and then once we're back at the hotel, a lot of the time it's pretty quiet for me. I wander down to a cafe and get a coffee, and that's about it.
Brian?
Sure. Brian Mahoney, Associated Press. You mentioned the energy. I know a lot of people always talk about how great that is in this tournament, but is it going to be a little tough to get used to again? You know, a crowd this big, it's going to be noisier than, you know, people moving around during changeovers and things like that. Is it going to take a couple games to get used to that again?
It'll be fun, without a doubt. It'll be enjoyable, and I think Cincinnati last week, obviously it was probably the first time we'd had crowds that felt that close to the courts, and even the practice court. It was pretty unreal to have kids and people all around the practice court, and that was really cool. So I think coming here to New York, it's going to be like that. I think just with a few more bodies moving around, but it's certainly going to be a lot of fun.
What was the toughest stretch? I think you've been away for half a year now from Australia. What was the toughest stretch in that time period, and what was the nicest stretch?
Well, we're not quite finished yet, so I think we'll wait until our adventure comes to an end before we go and start kind of reminiscing or thinking about some of the tougher times and some of the nicer times. But this journey for me this year has been remarkable. It's been incredible, and I think even though there have been some tough moments, that's made the better moments all the more enjoyable. And I think being able to see the positives and learn from both sides has been a crucial part of our year, and we've had a lot of fun. We've tried to lighten up every day and laugh and smile and make the most of the position that we're in, because we're getting to do what we love. We get to play tennis. We get to come out here and play a game for a living. So we're very fortunate and very grateful that we're here doing what we love.
Okay. Howard?
Howard Fenrich, AP. Ash, I want to ask you, as somebody who knows the difficulty and the joy of winning a Grand Slam title, and then a couple years later a second, how would you describe what Novak Djokovic is trying to accomplish and this achievement of trying to win 4 all within 1 year?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know how it feels. There's very few people on the planet that know how to answer that question, and I'm certainly not one of them. So you'll have to ask that from him or chat to a few of the legends in our sport that have been able to achieve it.
Can you imagine what it might take, or how can you even wrap your head around that idea of trying to win that many in a row?
It's all speculation for me, so I think my answer would be irrelevant, and it would have no context because I have no idea what it feels like.
Okay. Mark and then Willie.
Mark Berman, New York Post. So 1 year ago, where are you, and are you watching the U.S. Open with no fans, and what was it like with that 2 weeks of the U.S. Open for you a year ago?
I was probably sitting on my couch at home with the dogs, and certainly wasn't watching. You'd have to be up too early in the morning or too late at night for me to be up watching tennis, and I think I was just enjoying my time at home. I think this was our last probably month before we really started our pre-season. We started pre-season in October, so I was enjoying a month of the freedom under the restrictions that we had in Australia at that time in Brisbane. It wasn't too bad. We could kind of get out and move around a little bit, but just enjoying my time at home.
Willie Weinbaum from ESPN. What in your mind makes Naomi Osaka the player she is on hard courts?
Naomi's a pure ball striker. When she's got time to set up, particularly after her first serve, she's one of the best kind of first serve, first strike players I've ever come up against. And obviously on the hard court, there's not a lot of variation in that bounce. So she can set up, trust the bounce and really swing through her line. And I think that's what makes her so damaging on these courts.
Ash, just in Cincinnati, obviously, there's, you spoke a lot about the adjustments that you made in terms of those courts and those balls and how you chose to play. Having now played, I presume, a few times just on the practice courts here, how are you finding just kind of the combination of the courts and the balls and the conditions, and how much does that impact how you approach this tournament tactically?
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar to Cincinnati, I found. I think there's obviously a little bit more humidity here in New York, so it changes the way that the ball kind of flies through the air a fraction and just how long it stays in your racket. But the similarities are there. Like there are a lot of things that feel similar, and the courts are a little bit different. The practice courts obviously play different to the match courts purely because they've had more traffic on them. But there aren't any tricks or any gremlins in these courts. It's pretty much what you see is what you get, and you have to be able to play in those conditions, and you have to adjust and adapt to those conditions quickly. Otherwise, you're out of the tournament and you're packing your bags going home. So I think for us, everything remains the same in a sense of we prepare as best that we can for our first round tactically against the opponent that we're going to play, and we go out there and try and execute.
Okay. That's all the time for questions in the room. We're now going to transition to online. You can see the reporter on the monitor to your left. Let's start with Mark. You are live. Name and affiliation, please. Thank you.
This is Mark Stern with US Open Radio. Ash, thanks for taking time with us today. You've been playing so brilliantly this year, obviously with the win at Wimbledon and the win just recently at the Western and Southern. I know there's different surfaces, different weather conditions you just talked about, and different environments, but what's the key really for you to maintain that unbelievably high, consistent level of play?
For me, it's keeping it simple. It's enjoying my tennis. It's going out there and playing with freedom. It's being really clear with tactically how I want to play, and then it just comes down to execution. Some days I'm going to be able to execute better than others, and some days I'm going to have to go into the toolbox a little bit and try some different things and rely on different things in my game. But I think knowing that I have the confidence to go out there and trust myself is massive.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to Matt. Matt, you're live.
Hi, Ash. It's Matt Futterman from the New York Times. Do you think that not playing last year and not dealing with the wear and tear of the bubbles and all of that has been an advantage for you at all this year, or is it a disadvantage that you have to take so much time off the game, given that so many of the other players have been just playing constantly and on this gerbil role for so long?
Yeah, I think there are probably pros and cons both ways. Obviously, the bubbles for me were very new this year. It was something I'd never experienced before, but I can't see a massive advantage of not playing on the tour for 7 or 8 months. That was obviously something new and a different thing that I experienced, knowing that there was a tour going ahead and I was at home, but I was completely okay with that. That was my decision. I felt like I made the decision for the right reason for me, and that's all that mattered. And I think each and every person on this tour is unique. They make their own decisions, and that's kind of all there is to it. But I feel like there's probably neither way is it a pro or a con. It is what it was, and that was kind of the decision I made. And I'm certainly enjoying being back on the tour this year, and it has been different. Like I said, the bubbles for me were a first, but I've become more accustomed to them now. It's more of the norm, and I think everyone on the tour now is really used to it.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. We have 2 more online. Richard, you're live.
Richard Osborne, usopen.org. Thanks for your time, Ash. It probably feels like years ago for you now, but I was thinking about your marathon trip over to Miami and all that lay ahead of you and your goals, which were big, Wimbledon, et cetera. And I just wondered if you'd reflect, I know your year is still going, but if you'd reflect on all you have achieved in that stretch with your team and all the hard work you put in.
We've laughed a lot about some of the things that have happened, and most of that laughter has come from experiences off the court. Like you said, some things we haven't been able to control. The flight over here, I swear it was the world telling me that I shouldn't be leaving Australia, but we have to laugh about it. You have to be able to take the piss out of it, and just kind of lighten up, enjoy it, because it is what it is, and it's become such a beautiful story for me this year. It's become such a beautiful year on the tennis court, and all of those distractions, experiences, everything that's come with it has made it all the better. And I think once our year is over, I think it'll be certainly a year for my team that's with me here, my team back in Australia, for all of us to come together and celebrate, because it's been an incredible year. It's been one that's probably, whenever I do retire, it's going to be one of those years that you really look back on and laugh about. You laugh when you think of the experiences that made you cry. You laugh at the experiences that made you hurt, and those ones that were really euphoric and absolutely incredible. They make you smile as well. So I think being able to take all of that into account when the dust has settled and when our year is over, will be a lot more enjoyable than trying to create time now and find time to reminisce, because I don't want to reminisce just yet. I want to do that with my family and my whole team.
Thank you, Richard. And our final question. Rex, you're live.
Hi, Ash. I'm Rex Coleman from the Kickcaster program, and I just wanted to ask you, how does it feel coming into the U.S. Open with 5 titles under your belt this year?
Hey, Rex. It feels good, mate. We've obviously we've played a lot this year, and to be able to have won some tournaments on different surfaces has been awesome in all different conditions. But there certainly is no place like New York. There's nothing quite like the US Open, and I can't wait to get started here in a few days' time, and hopefully you're glued to the telly and you're able to watch all of us here. There's going to be plenty of matches over the first few days, so hopefully you get to watch some of your favourites, and we all play well for you, mate.